Powered each week by Harper's Tree and Stump Removal. If you have any tree trimming, tree removal, or stump removal needs, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal has you covered. In addition to tree work, they can also haul rock or sand. They do driveway work and can now do horizontal grinding as well. Give our friend Keith Wooldridge a call at 229 314 2048 or at 229-938-2412. Harper's Tree and Stump Removal is proud to be the premier sponsor of the Integrity Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, and sports administrators. Now, here's your host, Tim Estes.
Hello, we are live at the Roman Oven Pizzeria in Americus. Hope you'll come by and be a part of this show with us. We're sitting in the very back booth tonight, not in our normal room, but it's time to talk high school football here on the Integrity Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Estes. Glad to be joined once again by our co-host, Scott Westbrook. And Scott, one team left to talk about this week, and that'll be Schley County. We'll get to them in just a moment. If you're viewing this program live, we want to remind you that you can interact with us on our live chat. So go to our YouTube page and you can interact with us on our live chat. Scott, the best way to describe Schley County's win, I think, last week was simply survive and advance.
That's it. It's a game we'll talk about a little bit more later, but I have, as people have asked me about it all week, it's a game that Schley County did not deserve to win. But, you know, when you're on a championship run, sometimes you have to win some games like that. And, I think back to the 1980 University of Georgia. They didn't deserve to win at Florida, but they did. And we kind of had a game like that in Melville last Friday night.
Well, and I was going to say, you and I watched the ending of the Bowdon-Greene County game the week before.
Right.
And honestly, Bowdon didn't deserve to win that game.
Yeah. The coach, the game stopped on about the 6-inch line, and he had the coach call the earlier timeout when Bowdon was trying to score with about 1:20 left. He could have saved himself about 16 seconds, and that could have been huge there at the end of the game. But, that's the way the cookie crumbles, and Bowdon and Schley County will face off tomorrow night.
We've got a good crowd here at the Roman Oven tonight. Want you to come by and be a part of that. Walk back here to the back and say hello to us. Scott, it's week 16 in a 17-week high school football season, and we still have several South Georgia teams left in the Georgia High School Association playoff. I don't want to get deep into detail yet with any of these, but let's just talk about a few of them, and we'll go classification by classification. In AD2, Class A Division II, still have Schley County, Manchester, and Telfair County, all from this general area.
It is. And, Manchester is kind of really considered more West Central Georgia just about. They're going to be in the same region next year as Bowdon. So, they're kind of, they're kind of a borderline team, I think.
Telfair County has been kind of the Cinderella story of AD2.
I did not expect it. I mean, I go on record, I didn't think they would win. I looked at my bracket today that I wrote out at the beginning, and I had Aquinas facing off against Manchester. I was three of the four teams I was right on, but I had Aquinas going all the way to the Final Four, and Telfair is still hanging on.
Moving up to Class A Division I, Brooks County from deep down in South Georgia. And then you've got Bryan County and Swainsboro from the southeast Georgia area.
Right. Those are, Brooks County, they were supposedly going to be a rebuilding year, but it looks like, the coach down there, he is one of the finest coaches in the state of Georgia. Got a great history, great track record. Even on the rebuilding year, he's got them in the Final Four.
Coach Maurice Freeman is a legend in South Georgia high school football, and he's got the Trojans playing really well. Bryan County, Scott, had never been to the playoffs before in football, and here they are in the Final Four.
They've made some noise in baseball, I know,
yeah.
but even in softball. But now they're starting to rattle the football cage a little bit, and so I'm kind of glad to see a newcomer showing up.
Here's two that I'm really excited about. In Class AA, two teams out of the same region with Sumter County. Cook High, the Hornets, and the Purple Hurricanes of Fitzgerald. Both of those teams in the Final Four.
They are. I think I'll have to look later, but I think maybe at least one of them, if not both of them, are underdogs tomorrow night. I've got it written. We'll visit that again later. But what a game in the state championship at Cook and Fitzgerald after what's all happened this season and the game that they had there in Fitzgerald towards the end of the season, right after the suspension or the losses that they had were lifted and the player was allowed to play. What if Fitzgerald and Cook County end up at the Benz at the end of the season? That'll be the game that a lot of people show up for.
I think you're right. In AAA, Scott, only one South Georgia team remains. That's Carver of Columbus.
They're going to face Stars Mill out of Fayette County, and Stars Mill, like Schley County last week, won late, and they've won it more on a Hail Mary, and I think they beat Central Carrollton and sent them home. And so Stars Mill, at this point, is playing with house money.
In Class 4A, about 45 minutes from here, Perry is still in it.
Perry, one of their big supporters, one of their big boosters, I talk to him about once a week. Of course, the game with Bainbridge, the 7-3 game, had to be one for the ages. But Perry, the quarterback, they had a quarterback injury that kind of, was a bump in the road towards the end of the season, but he's getting back in there and getting back to 100%. Seems to be firing on all cylinders for him.
And when you move to Class 5A, Coffee County, the Coffee County Trojans, they seem for the last decade, I guess, have been one of the top teams in that classification.
It seems to be their championship to lose at this point. They seem to be peaking at the right time. They've played well all season. And, it's a long way from Douglas to Atlanta, but they don't mind making that drive if they make it one more week.
And, Scott, there's no teams in Class 7A that are from the South Georgia area, but in 6A.
Like Camden County.
Well, I guess that's right. They are Southeast Georgia. So
right.
Jeff Herron has returned down there and once again has Camden County in the championship hunt.
Yeah, did they face Milton? I'm trying to remember who they played. I should have wrote that down. But Camden County, he is just he was there. Got him a couple state championships and kind of
went up to Oconee County.
Went to 2 or 3 places.
Yeah.
And, I think even went in college ranks for a little while, but went back home to Camden County where he had all that success and he picked up right where he left off. And
then, of course, in 6A, you've got Thomas County Central, who has played well all year.
I think they're going to face Marist. They're going to have to drive right there in Peachtree, Dunwoody, and go down there and visit a Marist team that's coached by another legend in the state of Georgia.
Every week, our show is brought to you by several different sponsors. One of those is One Digital Solutions. They are a steward of business growth and of personal development. Their insurance, financial, and HR platforms provide you with a personalized, tech-enabled solution that provides contemporary work-life experience. One Digital resolves real problems, and they address things like employee benefits, HR, and financial solutions. It's everything all in one. It's One Digital. Contact our good friend, Will Peterson. His number is 229-347-6289. Again, that's Will Peterson with One Digital, 229-347-6289. One Digital is proud to be a sponsor here on the Integrity Sports Podcast. Scott, we're going to check in real quick and see if we've got it. I think we do have some folks on our live chat here.
Let's see. I believe. Oh, okay.
Is that Michelle?
It is. That's my wife. She said, Scott cannot hear you, so maybe she ought to count her blessings. Okay.
Let's see if you can turn your mic up there.
All right, yeah, she's been texting me. I was fiddling with it. I got closer to it, so I'm hoping that maybe she can hear me. And she said the picture is very blurry. Let me explain what's going on with that. We had a group of ladies who were probably I'm gonna say seniors, since me and you're kind of seniors right now. Senior ladies kind of roughed us up, kicked us out of our normal room tonight. And so we are been relegated to the booth in the corner. And so we've had to kind of make do. But the Roman Oven always accommodating. They found us a spot, but we have had to probably in the corner with some poor lighting and but that's okay. I mean, it's enough lighting for a restaurant, but may not be enough lighting for a podcast. But hey, we're gonna make do with what we got.
Scott and I are a part of the broadcast team on radio on 94.7 for Schley County. We'll broadcast the game tomorrow night from Bowdon. And with Scott, I think we're made more for radio. We've got faces for radio.
Well, ever since, I back in my college days when I worked for Chippendales, did a little dancing for them. Once I hung up my bow tie, I kind of let myself go, Tim. I'll just be honest with you. I have following just like you have, and maybe a body and face for radio. But hey, it keeps my marriage strong, keeps the single ladies back, and it works for me.
That's right. And I hear you've got a reunion with all those Chippendale guys next year.
Coming up, yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, Scott, let's break down Bowdon. Schley County and Bowdon play tomorrow night. And Bowdon, as I've watched film on them for the past week, they average 240 yards a game rushing. 240 yards a game. I don't know if that's the most of anybody we played, but it's got to be close.
Well, a lot of it is the quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, probably the lion's share and the quarterback and one running back. And that pretty much tells you that you're going to get a balanced attack tomorrow night because they've got. I'm not going to steal your thunder, but they are equally good on the throw.
Well, out of that 240 yards rushing, Kyler McGrin, their quarterback, averages 120 of that. So literally half of the rushing yards come from the quarterback on the ground. They do have a senior running back by the name of Jordan Beasley. Jordan averages 91 yards per game rushing. And then they've got three guys on offense that have scored all but 5 of their touchdowns on the season. That's the quarterback, McGrin. He's got 30 rushing touchdowns now. This doesn't count his passing touchdowns. Then Beasley has 14, and then the wide receiver, Caden Prothrow, I guess on the jet sweeps and things like that, he's got 4.
Prothrow's a 6'5", I think sophomore, legit D1 receiver. I remember from last year in the state championship game. He is a great ball player. He's the one that when it was getting closer and closer to the end of the season, I was looking up stats on him because I do remember him from last year.
And we've got to keep their quarterback contained, not let him scramble for big yardage. Scott, when you break this down to in the simplest form, that McGrin kid at quarterback, he is their offense.
And you and I, everybody else, every other coach in the stand, everybody that's sitting in the scene about 5 minutes of film, make the statement, we stop the quarterback, we stop Bowdon. Well, that's about as easy as saying when Michael Vick was in his peak, if you stop Michael Vick, you
right.
Stop Bowdon. Or when Joe Montana was in his peak, if you stop Joe Montana, then you stop. It's a lot easier said than done. He's got a great instinct, great nose for when the pocket's collapsing, he steps up. And I mean, I told somebody the other day, I said it's almost like a screen pass when he takes off running because the defensive line have already run past him. So there's 10, 15 yards before anybody touches him in some cases when you watch film on him.
And Scott, if you're a Schley County fan and you haven't watched any film on him and you show up at Bowdon tomorrow night, this guy wants to run. It's not like he's running because he's getting so much pressure. A lot of his runs are designed quarterback draws. He doesn't try to get the edge a lot of times. He's going to take a 3 to 5 step drop. He's going to give one look, and if that one look is not open, he's going to take it between the tackles and scramble from there.
And those linemen, once again, they look like Philistines. Big, tall, good-looking, offensive linemen, and they can buy him some time, and they know his instinct in a lot of cases is to run when things start collapsing. So subconsciously or consciously, they're blocking like that when he's in the pocket a little bit too long. They know he's probably going to touch it.
And a lot of his passes are the short, quick passes, the 2 to 5 yard type passes. Scott, I watched film on 6 different games, and the only long balls he threw, every single long ball that he threw, he targeted Prothrow.
There was one I watched the Taylor County game. That was the night we had to buy. And I saw him. I thought he was going to tuck the ball and run. He took 2 steps up and a flick of the wrist. He threw it 60 yards, and he went right in the receiver's gizzard for a touchdown. So not only is he a good runner, he's an accurate passer.
So let's keep Kyler McGrin contained at or behind the line of scrimmage. Keep Beasley covered in the flats. And, Scott, here's the key. We got to make tackles. When we get our hands on him, we got to wrap up.
Oh, yeah. You can't give him second chances because, I mean, a lot of times when he's running, if one of our linemen get a hand on him, that's one more than usually do it sometimes. So if that one person, you better hang on and wait for the cavalry because I'm telling you, if he gets past us, he knows what to do.
On defense, the Red Devils are led by the quarterback's brother, number 6, Dylan McGrin. He plays middle linebacker. He leads their team with total tackles on the season of 67. Their other inside linebacker is a guy named Mason Daniel. He's got 44 tackles on the season. And this is the strength of their defense right there in the middle, the interior linebackers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they want you to run it. They want you to challenge them. I'm hoping that we can figure out a way to penetrate, get past them, and get in the secondary.
The defensive line, Scott, they only have 12 sacks on the season. That's in 13 games. So they're not a defensive front that I feel like is going to come after us and put a lot of pressure on us. They're more of a containment.
Right. You got talking about this, 5'8", 240-pound defensive tackle. It's like a tree stump right there. You might can run around it, but you make it run through it.
Right. His name is Tavian Vilsaint, and they're dependent on their linebackers to stop the run. In the secondary, at first glance, Scott, I didn't think they were really, really good. They're just solid high school players. But when you look at their numbers, they have 19 interceptions on the season, and those guys have forced 17 fumbles.
That was our problem last week. We had 4 turnovers last week to early Canton 0. So that was a tough hurdle for us to overcome last week to get out of the victory. So I'm hoping we got all that out of our system last week, and we're going to hold tight to that ball and complete our passes to the guys in the right cover jerseys.
Bowdon goes after the football. In turn, we've got to protect the football. We can't have 4 turnovers this week and expect to come out with a win.
We'll be hemorrhaging the ball over.
Bowdon averages 44 points per game on offense. On defense, they average allowing 15 points a game. Very, very similar to Schley County.
Definitely. Strong offense, stingy defense. Bowdon and Schley are 2 teams that are as equally matched as you can hope for in a Final Four.
On the flip side of that, Scott, when you break down Schley County, we've got 1,967 yards rushing on the season. Remember, we've only played 12 games. They've played 13. So that averages out to 164 yards per game rushing. We've thrown the football for 3,094 yards. That comes out to 258 yards per game. We average 43 points a game and average giving up 17 points a game. So, Scott, this is about as close a matchup statistically as we've had all year.
Most definitely. There's no secret. You can watch, 2 or 3 series with us and see that we like to throw the ball first and second. I wouldn't be surprised if our coaches mix it up a little bit tomorrow night to try a little something different to catch them off guard.
Here's something interesting that I found, Scott. Bowdon has a total of 4 players, only 4, that have scored rushing touchdowns on the season. That's their quarterback, who has 30, their running back, Beasley, that has 14, a slot guy, Devin Powell, has 4, and freshman running back Connor Daniel has 2. If I'm Schley County, I'm going to focus on stopping 2 guys in particular, the quarterback and the running back Beasley. Those 2 guys make up 95% of their offense.
Like I said earlier, that's easy to say. It's a whole different ball of wax when you're ready to try to do it. I'm hoping that we can at least slow it down enough where we can let our offense go to work and put some points on the board.
We're going to see if any. It looks like we have had Kerry Claiborne. Looks like he has checked in with us. Can you see what he is saying?
Schley County says, Scott, your mic is too low. I'm gonna try it again. Let me see what I can do.
Let me turn that.
Got me. I hope that's got me right there.
Yeah, I hope that's better.
I thought we had the same, but that's okay. We'll try.
Yep.
Thank you, Kerry. You and my bride looking out.
So Kerry Claiborne up in Buford. Boy, we hated to see Buford lose out, but they will be back. They're there all the time. So. All right, Scott, another one of our sponsors this week is All South Appraisals. They're your trusted partner in appraising rural properties. They can handle all types of property, whether it's agricultural, commercial, residential, from vast farmlands to that charming country home that defines the heart and soul of our communities. All South Appraisals has a commitment to accuracy and a dedication to the unique nuances of rural properties, and that's what sets them apart. They blend modern technology with old-fashioned attention to detail to provide you with an appraisal that you can trust. Whether you're a lender, an attorney, an accountant, a real estate agent, or a broker, or a property owner, All South Appraisals is who you need to call. Their number is 478-837-3818. Again, All South Appraisals, 478-837-3818. All South Appraisals is proud to be a sponsor here on the Integrity Sports Podcast. Scott, I want to take a different approach now. Let's let you put your hat on as the Bowdon coach. If you're Rich Finley, the head coach at Bowdon, and you're scouting Schley County, who are the players that you have to concentrate on?
Well, just look what they did last year. They really avoided Julius Solomon at all costs. They kicked it away from him. They did not run Julius Solomon to get the ball. I bet you that's going to be their strategy once again. Zayden Walker and Cameron Aldridge. If it rains tomorrow night, like we think it's going to, we need to step up our running game. We need to cut down on any fumbles, we need to hold on to the ball first and foremost and get a lot of yards. So Solomon, Walker, Aldridge, those three are going to be key in tomorrow night's game. If the weather is what we're predicting it's going to be. And with Sam and Carson and some of the others, they're going to have to, the ball's thrown to you and you catch it, you need to catch it. You need to secure it and get some yards to get up the field because usually I really, most of the rain is predicted for tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah.
Then it's 30 to 40% tomorrow night, starting about 6 or 7 o'clock for the game time. So I'm hoping that maybe that $1 million field they have over there drains well and that we're able to, run our typical offense what we're most comfortable with.
Yeah, Bowdon does have $1 million field, a really nice AstroTurf field. Got a real nice scoreboard with the big LED display on it, but a 5-cent press box.
No, they got a nice press box too.
And we will not be in the press box tomorrow.
Relegated to the little kids' table.
That's right. They have told us that they are full in the press box, can't host visiting radio. So we're going to set up a tent in the visitor stands and broadcast from there because we are going to bring the game to the folks in Schley County. Scott, we mentioned only 4 Bowdon players had rushing touchdowns. In doing some research this week, Schley County has 7 players that have scored rushing touchdowns. That's Zayden Walker, KB Aldridge, Jeremiah Rogers, Jay Kanazawa, Sam Forehand, Carson Westbrook, and Jalewis Solomon. So 7 guys, that's a lot of folks to focus on.
It is. That's just the beauty of Coach McCorkle's offense. He's not going to make it easier. You can predict who's going to get the ball and what's going to happen. Jeremiah Rogers, he started off the season like a house of fire, got injured, and he's been worked back into the offense. And I'm hoping he has a great night tomorrow night, too. Jeremiah
Rogers is a big kid, a sophomore, looks a whole lot like Zayden Walker physically.
He looks like a grown man. That's for sure.
Yeah. Defensively, Schley County has standouts at each level. Along the defensive front, Trenton Stubbs comes in with 47 tackles at the defensive tackle spot.
Yes, Trenton Trenton kept us in that game last week, let's be honest.
Yeah.
The running back that Early County had Stovall, we contained him as best we could, but a lot of it was Jack Clark, Trenton Stubbs, and a few other the down linemen that kept him pinned up because Stovall was going to get his yards. He had a great night. And like I said, we were very fortunate to stop him on that last drive because he was headed to the end zone before we tackled him. And got it on the first to goal. We made a big goal line stand the ball back.
And not far behind him is Wyatt Halstead. Wyatt started the season as solely the center and maybe going in on special downs, but has worked his way into pretty much an every down defensive guy on the front. He's got 42 tackles. So those two interior defensive linemen have performed exceptionally well this year.
Most definitely. We're going to need a big showing for them tomorrow night, too, where they get that hands on this end that he does not get down the field very far.
Between those two guys, that's Wyatt Halstead and Trenton Stubbs, they've got 25 tackles for losses.
Wow.
So they're getting into the backfield. Then you go to the second level at linebacker, and you got Jack Clark, who leads the team in total tackles. Jack's got 77 tackles. 17 of those are tackles for losses. You got Brody Smith that plays beside him at another middle linebacker spot. He's got 65 tackles, 14 of those for losses. And then, of course, you got Zayden Walker. Zayden is listed as an outside linebacker. Most of the time, he kind of creeps up toward the line. But Zayden comes in with 48 tackles. 17 of those 48 tackles are for loss.
So we've got to have all those stats tomorrow night, and we've got against a good battle team. If we're going to win, we've got to make sure that we get some tackles for loss. We stop their offense before he gets too deep. Because I watched it last week. I watched the game last week, and Dooley County early in the game fumbled the ball on about the 8, 9, 10-yard line, and the very next play after Bowdon recovered was a 91-yard touchdown run.
Yeah.
So, you can't let that happen. You can't let that happen.
You look at the other guy over there with the linebackers. You got Sam Forehand that plays some cornerback, some outside linebacker. And Scott, he's got 37 tackles, 7 of those for losses. On any other team, that's probably leading the linebacker core in tackles. But here Sam is 4th at 37 tackles.
Sam has had a phenomenal year. He's on both sides of the ball, even on special teams. He has been just a tremendous key player for the Wildcats this year.
All right, let's see what else we got here, Scott. In the secondary, Carson Westbrook, he's got a total of 57 tackles. Jalewis Solomon has 29 tackles. And in terms of sacks, the Schley County defense has a total of 35 sacks. Compare that. We've played 12 games, have 35 sacks. They've played 13 games, have a total of 12 sacks. So Schley County secondary has 20 interceptions on the season. That's one more than Bowdon had. So, Scott, 2 good linebacking core is going to match up. 2 good secondary is going to match up.
One of the things we've heard is that Bowdon has a hard time covering the pass. But you've got 19 interceptions. That tells me you don't have a hard time covering the pass. So I hope that they walk away with 0 interceptions tomorrow night.
Well, Bowdon's coaching staff has to come up with a game plan. And they got to come up with a game plan really for their defense. I think their game plan for their offense isn't going to change much. But for their defense, what do you think that game plan is going to be?
I think they're going to double Jalewis Solomon. They're going to make the other receivers beat. I think that's what they're going to do. And but we've seen teams do that before. Jalewis is such a tremendous athlete. He finds a way to get open. He finds a way to get the ball in his hand. But we're going to need a big play by other receivers tomorrow night. Kendall Sims, Carson Westbrook, Sam Forehand, and some of the others that come in. We need just a good night from them because there's no way if they try to do man coverage on all 3 of them, double up to Lewis, that should not be able to happen in single A.
Scott, we're going to get into our games of interest this week. I do want to check the live chat real quick and see if anybody else has checked in with us. I see Kerry has said one more thing on there.
He said he enjoys it every week.
Good deal. Thank you. All right, Scott, let's talk about Manchester. Manchester's 10-2. They're going to take on the surprise in Class A Division II, and that's Telfair County, who also comes in at 10-2. What do you think?
Maxwell has the score prediction of Manchester 20, Telfair 7. Manchester is a 13-point favorite. Got to agree with, I think, Manchester, Telfair County. Telfair County's had a tremendous season, but they're in uncharted territory for them right now.
And I think when you and I saw Manchester earlier in the year, we felt good about the game, but we said we may see them again.
Oh yeah. I think so. Like Early County, we're not going to see the same team, but right now we got to handle Bowdon before that ever happens.
All right, Brooks County. This is in Class A Division II. Brooks County at 8-5 takes on Swainsboro. Swainsboro is 11-2.
Brooks County's a 6-point favorite in that game, but I'm going to go with Swainsboro. I think Swainsboro, after last year, looks another shot at Prince Avenue, so I'm thinking Swainsboro.
You and I are going to disagree occasionally, and we're going to disagree on this one, Scott. I think Maurice Freeman has his team peaking at the right time, and Brooks County, I'm going to say, wins it in a close one.
Now, every right to be wrong.
Yeah, that's right. Now, Fitzgerald at 10-3 takes on the Pierce County Bears at 12-1.
As much as I would love to see a Cook Fitzgerald championship, I think Pierce County is going to be favored by 8 tomorrow night. I feel quite certain they're going to lose tomorrow night.
I hope you're wrong, but I got to go with you on this one. I think Pierce County is definitely the more talented team. Hopefully Fitzgerald can prove us wrong. Then you're on the flip side of that same bracket, Scott, you got Cook High at 11-2 taking on Rockmart at 11-2.
You know, I was talking with one of the guys on their radio crew for Cook County, and I'm trying to remember what he said. They were running into a similar problem we had up there in Rockmart, that they were going to have some issue with doing the radio broadcast. But I think Cook County, it's terrible what happened in the middle of the season, as far as like your community and the coaching staff and all that and everything. I'm not saying, who's right, who's wrong in that situation, but if it's going to happen, if it's going to get reversed, it's been real easy, I think, for the coaches to get these players motivated, and it's shown in every game since then. So I'm thinking Cook County's going to beat Rockmart.
I'm going to go with the Cook High Hornets as well. Get to see both of these groups a lot, Scott, when they're growing up in rec football. And both of these are what we call Class C agencies in the smallest communities. Cook High and Rockmart are always in the mix. Both teams are used to winning. I'm going to go with Cook High as well.
Rockmart's a 5-point favorite in that game.
Really?
Yeah, so Cook High's coming in as underdog.
Okay. It's now time for the Who You Got part of the show. And, Scott, we've only got one, and this is our local team. Schley County goes on the road to Bowdon. Who you got?
Max Ratings has the score prediction. Schley 31, Bowdon 26. They have Schley as a 5-point favorite. Talking to some of the coaches this week, I think Schley's going to have to score about 40 points to win the game.
Yeah.
I don't think 31 may not do it. I think that from talking to the coaches, they feel a lot more comfortable going in this week than they did last week. I talked to some of the players, and they echo and say the same thing. Practice has been going well. Regardless, I feel like this is a game that Schley has wanted ever since the game at Georgia State last year. And so, therefore, I don't think Coach Alford's going to have a hard time motivating his players for this game. So I'm going to go with Schley.
Scott, when you look at last year's game, you and I both have had several folks that said, why are Bowdon and Schley County playing in the semifinals? And that's really luck of the draw, depending on what regions are matched up against each other. I'm actually excited that we get to play them in the semifinal game. If you're a real competitor, you want to beat the best. And Bowdon right now is the defending state champions. We're ranked number 1, but you got to go beat that defending state champion to claim that spot. I think our young men are competitors. I think they relish the fact they get to play Bowdon, even if it's at Bowdon. I'm going to go with Schley County, and I'm going to say 42-35.
I think that what our players are going to have to do is play one quarter at a time. They're not going to beat the whole game. Just like in baseball, when you try to win one inning at a time, you've got to win one tomorrow night, and that's what they're going to have to do. And I'm hoping that they come out of the gates fired up, ready to go, regardless of the weather, regardless of the location, regardless of the atmosphere. It's going to be 11 on 11 every single time tomorrow night.
One thing I haven't mentioned tonight, Scott, we got several people that host podcasts around Southwest Georgia that are tuning in tonight. They wanted to get our breakdown on Schley County so they can do that on their show. If you had to tell them, if you're talking just to those guys, Phil Jones and JoJo Wright and some of those guys like that, if you're talking to them and saying, here's the one or two things that Schley's got to do to be successful, what do you tell them?
Well, I want to tell Mr. Phil too. I've enjoyed his show. I haven't listened to JoJo's. I listen to Phil's, and I type in from time to time. And he has a hard time with my name because he tries to, Scott Westbrook 2.0. Because I lost my first Facebook account, I had to start all over after it was hacked. And so a new Facebook account, I put 2.0 at the end. So hopefully, if Mr. Phil's listening, he'll know that from now on. But it's really you've just got the two heavyweight boxers getting in the ring tomorrow night.
Yeah,
and they're both well coached. They both have communities that love them. They both have incredible fans. They both have great academic reputations. So I don't think you can have two more evenly matched teams. Schley County is senior loaded.
Yeah.
Bowdon was senior loaded last year. So I'm hoping that tips the scales in our favor tomorrow night as our seniors step up and lead our team to victory and another possible shot at another state championship.
I don't think I could have broken it down any better than that. I do want to tell you what we did last week. So I wasn't able to be there last week, and we had a living room full of Estes at my parents' house. So Jim and Janita Estes are watching this from Boonville, Mississippi, and we have folks that are loyal to Schley County simply because I'm the voice of the Wildcats on the radio. After watching the game on the NFHS network and the way we won it, I think we got 30 real loyal Schley County fans. Schley County fans, we're going to talk to you right now. Get to Bowdon tomorrow. Regardless of the weather, get to Bowdon. These kids are going to need your support. Scott mentioned it's a heavyweight boxing match. That's exactly what it is. The two probably most talented teams in Class A Division II are going to go at it. And regardless of who wins, both teams are going to come out of there really good. They're real good. We want to be the team going to Mercedes-Benz the following week.
Right. Bowdon, Georgia, believe it or not, is near and dear to my heart. I went to West Georgia. I spent a lot of hours in Bowdon, Georgia. There was a suit store there. There was a suit manufacturing place when I was at West Georgia. I could buy a bunch of suits there. It was really fine people in that town.
Absolutely.
People that I know from that town, the Lanes and some other folks that I know from that town, Robinson. Good folks, but we hope your feelings are hurt on Saturday morning. That's all. So,
you got that right.
I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to love Bowdon, but I hope y'all have your feelings hurt on Saturday morning.
We are going on the air on 94.7 tomorrow night at 7:15, 15 minutes prior to kickoff. So we hope you'll join us. If you can't make the trip, tune in to 94.7. If you're outside the radio listening area, you can do this online. Just go to americasradio.com and click on that link. And when you get to the top, hit the 94.7 logo, and you can listen to us live that way. I'll be there with William Rooks, with Scott Westbrook, and with our other spotter, Blake Dukes. We're going to have the entire broadcast team in place. Hopefully, we can get you a Schley County win. We're counting on that. We want to thank you for watching the Integrity Sports Podcast and want to thank our sponsors, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal, Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance, One Digital Solutions, and All South Appraisals. It's always great to be here at the Roman Oven Pizzeria. Thanks to Anthony Dragoin and his staff for feeding us tonight. Our show grows each week. Even though we only had 2 teams that we previewed on our last show, Scott, we had 1,500 views this week, right at 1,500 views. So over the past 2 months, we're averaging about 1,600. You can find us on Facebook, on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and several other social media and podcast platforms. We hope to be with you again live next week. If so, that means that we're going to Mercedes-Benz for the state championship, and Scott and I will join you to preview that game. But we got to get there first. We're not going to count our chickens before they hatch. If you're watching on YouTube tonight, hit the subscribe button for us. If you're on Facebook, make sure and hit the like and share it with your friends. For my good friend, Scott Westbrook, I'm Tim Estes. Thanks for watching tonight. So long, everybody.